Hey, what's up? I was thinking, okay, I talk to the camera a bunch, but I do it the kind of the same way every time. So I was like, you know what, let me try something out. And I don't know if you can see this or whatever, but how many notes there are, but there's just over 2,080. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna scroll through this thing, find a random one, and just talk about it. Because why not? Why not talk about my deepest, darkest stuff? But yeah, like you can see. Ready? Okay. See, I gotta go because I gotta go to a specific time. Let's go. Okay, right here. Just gonna read through it. It's 11:30 and I'm confused. The more I try and turn my life into something that makes any sense, the more I realize just how out of control it is. When I let go and just effing dance throughout Tempe's wave of cars and live in the moment is when I realize why it's so confusing in the first place. There's never been a time where I felt 1% as good as myself as I have this last year. And although you would think the lack of understanding would make it more difficult, it's actually the opposite. I've been learning to just live, and when I tap into that is when I feel unlike I've ever felt before. The feeling I get when I listen to the right song and let go makes me very interested in the idea of performing in front of people, because something about the feeling seems like home. I'm a very chill guy, but when I feel in my zone, I do sh. Like I do that like little word. I don't know if you can see it in here, but when I curse words, I just do the thing because even though I'm just writing to myself, I feel the need to do it. I do that, like sprint and jump, dance through cities, crowds. Honestly, because I love attention. I've said here before that my goal is to entertain slash help as many people as possible. So I love when eyes are on me, even if it's as simple as when I'm doing my dumb. What a sentence for me to write, but it's the truth. I get energy from smiles and laughs, and it makes me feel alive. Making YouTube videos is only one part of my aspirations in the whole entertainment thing. I also want to write books, perform in front of people, and a lot of stuff I can't even begin to imagine. I used to have I used to have drive to be good at sports, then to get in good shape for girls. But this motivation to entertain people is incomparable to the other two. It feels like something in my soul. Day to day Day to day life, I keep a smile, stay lighthearted in order to uplift those around me and myself in the process. So the aspirations are rooted in every single thing I do. If I had the choice to get 10 million views on all my football videos and I could do that for as long as I wanted, or just keep living the life I'm living now, I would choose the latter without hesitation. I like making football stuff, but it's only the very tip of the iceberg. It opened doors for my future that I'm very interested in exploring. No clue how everything will pan out, and that's perfect because I don't want to know a single thing. And I do the little winky face. But the whole thing is, it's 11:30. I'm confused. This was March 8th, 2023. So this was, I would say, like in terms of the periods of my life, this was pretty. It was a pretty rough one because whatever love experience I had, kind of all started to like the illusion. I mean, there wasn't ever a thing, but even the aspect of thinking that there was potential really was like over start of February. So that next month or so, this time I felt extremely lonely because when you have, it's like it's one thing to not have, but when you have and then not have, it led me to be very introspective. And I remember back there thinking all this stuff, and I have a lot of the same exact thoughts, feelings, all this stuff as I did nearly 2 years ago. But I remember because this was 2 months before graduation, and I remember thinking all this stuff about, oh, like after I graduate, I'm gonna go out to California, do all this stuff. What I did, but I didn't think I thought like this stuff would be some of the tougher stuff. What I didn't realize is what after the fact that it would get tougher. But what I also didn't think of is the fact that as it got tougher and as it was more difficult, I I only started believing this stuff more. By the way, I was thinking about this. Sorry if I read too fast because I know I've heard stuff that I read too fast or say too fast. So sorry about that. This is what I do. I'm sorry, but yeah, there's this idea and this thing I was writing about in here, and I don't know why. I don't know if anything I'll care, but about YouTube and how I love making YouTube videos. Don't get me wrong. I love writing. I love music, all that stuff, but I can't be okay with just being good at one thing and like whatever and calling it a day. Like I was saying, like, oh, if I get 10 million views on my football videos, back that this is before I really did much of this stuff. I don't even know if I had this channel. I might have. I probably did, but I didn't really post that much. But I definitely have one of these other channels, and even then, I was like, it doesn't matter if I make enough money to support myself for generations past me. If I'm not like 100% like okay, I'm doing as much as I can, it doesn't matter, and I'm not gonna be able to feel happy. And so that's one of those reality things that hit as I've kind of chased after these aspirations. And although I haven't been quite as successful as you need to be to actually make it a full time career and stuff like that, I know in my heart of hearts, I know in my soul, I just know that even if that was the case, I wouldn't put all my energy towards it. Like I'd still be in the spot where I have a bunch of different things I want to do because when you, I don't know about y'all, but when you feel like you can do a lot of stuff, you can't. It's hard for me to be like, you know what, I'm just gonna do this one thing. It's because it's like I don't know how to explain it, but it's like only eating one type of food when you know there's a bunch of other food that you really like or whatever. Like, what's the point of that? So that's kind of the whole idea of this one. I mean, yeah, it's like it's 11:30. It's 11:30 and I'm confused, and then it's at 11:40, March 8th. So that was an interesting one. That was a middle one. I'm gonna go back this time, and we'll just do it. I'll just do one more. I don't know. See, the thing is, if I'm just talking to myself, at least I'm getting this off my chest once again. Let's go back. Okay. Okay, November 13th, 14th, wacky time. So this ended at November 14th. I can see it. 12:12 a.m. So I was writing this probably around like 11:30, 12. Okay, wacky times. I really dislike being in this apartment. There's something almost unexplainable about the feelings that I experience when I walk through the door. On record, I felt better at the house where I watched my dad die than I do when I'm at this place, and it's not even a joke at this point. Been here for over 2 years and tried to make the place feel okay, but it wasn't meant to be. Just a preface for this, this was happening around the time that I met that this girl or whatever fell in love and all that stuff. This is around that time, so I definitely dislike the place, but it almost heightened it because what would happen is I think this was whatever days before we first actually like hung out or whatever. And so what would happen is I'd hang out or do the stuff like sporadically, whatever. It wasn't that much. But and then I'd come back to this apartment and it would almost shine a light on how much I dislike it, and the feeling would just be intense. That was one of those things that one of the reasons why I probably wouldn't want to go back to that time because it's sure it's great and I felt some of the highest highs of my entire life, but I also felt some of the lowest lows and it was very close together. So just a little preface. Been here for over 2 years, trying to make you feel okay, but it wasn't meant to be, which is kind of true. I'm in Tempe knowing damn well that there's only one person that can make me feel a single thing but sadness. So when I'm not around her, it's pretty much hell. Pretty much what I'm saying. It's only been 5 days since I got her number, but I swear it felt like a solid 30. It's felt like a solid 30, like saying days wise. And I'm not even effing around. All the dad stuff slowed down time a lot, but this is insane. I mean, today alone has been a marathon. I'm kind of saying like when my dad died or whatever, it slowed down time, but now with this experience, it's like crazy. And especially what I'm talking about, like when you go from something you really like to do to something you really don't like to do, it slows down like because because I was so locked in on thinking on what's gonna happen in the future. I was like, oh yeah, it was interesting time. That's the time in between texting, which for her I would take days sometimes for responses, or just I would get a response, and then sometimes I'm probably on my best tries or whatever, it would be within 4 or 5 hours. So just a little preface there. It feels like anything I've ever gone through. The time between texts. It puts me through an emotional roller coaster every single time, but the way I feel for her never changes. It's changed since then. I honestly can't believe how much has happened in a few days with my heart, because I felt enough for this girl to tell her about my dad not just dying, not just the depression, not just being suicidal, but I mean everything that was on my mind. She knows who I am, why I do what I do, and we only really hung out for a few hours. I guess the time since losing my dad has changed me more than I thought. It took me a year and a half after he died to get a therapist, but a solid hour or so to pour my heart out to someone who's only been around me for a bit. And I've probably talked about this a bit, but I can almost like without a doubt say it's because of connection. Like the second I feel connected with anything, like I feel like like something in my heart or whatever it is, trust someone. I'm an open whatever. And I was watching this TikTok about like signs of loneliness, or whatever, and it was when you talk about something, like when you talk about personal stuff that you're like oversharing, like you're doing too much, and that's kind of the deal. That was kind of the deal here. Like we literally hung out, like barely knew each other, and I was spouting about everything, talking about all of the stuff, whatever, automatically stuff I hadn't told my roommates for over 2.5 years. So, and then what's funny is I told my roommates this stuff almost like probably in the same like maybe a day before this. So it was within 2 days of actually hanging out with this girl and feeling stuff again. So a lot of stuff happened at once. Uh, it feels like a year ago, but yesterday was easily the best few hours of my life since my dad died. Nothing is even remotely close, and it only grew my love for the girl. I couldn't help but smile when we were packing food because I would just look in her eyes and feel at home. Damn, kind of crushes that one. It didn't matter that this was the first date, not a date. it's one of those deals where you hang out one on one for with a girl. For me, I'd done it before kind of, but not really like this. Like we were kind of meeting at a spot, doing something, hanging out. Like we did this, and then we went and got like coffee or something like that after. Like it was a thing. Like we're hanging out for 4 or 5 hours. So I don't know what else you call it. I guess it's a platonic hangout stuff. But it was like it, if the feelings were mutual, it would have been a date. I'll say that because it felt like I'd known her forever, and I wish it never ended. This all this stuff is so interesting to read thinking about it because looking back, I thought the way I felt in these moments writing this was really tough, but it was the years after and the time in California and all that stuff where I really was struggling because it was like it's the equivalent of what I was saying about going between like okay hanging out with her and being at this apartment that I effing hated. It was like I only exclusively felt like the way I felt at the apartment, but just a little worse than that, and there was no other thing. So that kind of stuff just kind of carried on. But yeah, it blows my mind that she asked me to grab drinks. It was a little tea thing. After the thing, I figured that I would have to be the one asking. But honestly, I effing love that she did it. I don't know if she's into me. Nope. But I've been as myself as possible. True. I felt a connection that I never experienced before. True. The time I spent away from her is starting to feel an awful lot like the time away from my dad back when. Yep. But this time there's romantic love involved, so it's on a different level and one sided. So it's so funny watching this back. Because the thing is, it wasn't that long ago, but reading this, it feels like eternity. It feels like a different life. With my dad, I knew he loved me. I knew that he was there until all the cancer stuff. But with her, it's all up in the air. It's extremely scary to feel so much for someone and not know if they share any of it. But it has made my life feel real again for a few weeks. Sure, 90% of the time life sucks, but the time with her makes up for the rest. And I mean, I've had her number for less than a week, but it feels much longer. I don't know if the rest of the semester will feel this slow, kind of, but it's almost a good thing because it feels like I have more time to hopefully get to know her. I only have 4 more classes with her, and the last one is a test, but I'm not really as worried about that as I was before. There's next to no time to talk during class. Like she sat like 3 rows behind me. I was in like the frontish row. So if you think of a room, you think of okay, so there's a row here, like a row here, row here, row here. Like she would sit over here, I would sit like here. So I like look back and look at her, or find reasons to look at her, but she'd be here. So it's like there's not really crossover unless I like tried to talk to her. But yeah, it was one of those deals where I'd be sitting in class just only thinking about her the entire time, and that happened every single time since I knew her or whatever. Um, talked about that. What's funny is something that I didn't even mention here. I would probably mention another one is that this class, like there was a very similar one that carried on to the next semester that was also in person. But she was like late to that window or whatever, or was filled by the time that she did classes, and so she was not in person. So this was literally the only class. If I didn't talk to her or whatever in this class thing or whatever that we were doing, I would have never been able to whatever in the first place. And this all kind of stemmed from meeting her. I probably talked to this in other, but meeting her at this like Female Starving Children, like this like where food packing thing, which is kind of funny. It's like the same thing we did. It was at our school, like it was at the college. It was the same thing that we met each other at like a few weeks or like a month or so before, and that I invited her to it, and it kind of felt like a thing. Like it was literally like walking distance from Oregon class, like really close. So all that just a little paint in the picture. Um, there's next to no time to talk to her in class, so I'm already screwed there. But every time I sit in that effing class, I swear it's as if I'm triple thinking every single thing I do. Turns out she wasn't paying as much attention to me as I thought, because she didn't notice the 100 Olivia Rodrigo stickers on that effort. I had a bunch of stickers on my water bottle before it like broke or whatever the hell. I kind of remember what happened to it, but too much to talk about. But yeah, it turns out she was playing. So my mind has been playing games the past month, but I love it. True. She's special. It's true. And time has proven that over and over again. 2.5 more years also. So I want to be the best me for her. Was enough. It wasn't meant to be. And if that's not enough, then so be it. That's the same mindset. But I know that I love her, so I'll try to do my very best. Ooh, another. This one's a killer one, but the love thing definitely true. Yeah, I felt that throughout my time in California, all that stuff. And it's one of those deals where eventually, when you get rejected or you kind of live with the love or feelings unreciprocated long enough, they kind of have to die out eventually. And there's still like bits and pieces of it, and maybe if I were to hang out or do whatever, it would spark it again. But it's it's kind of one of those deals where because of the fact that I've not been in love since then, I haven't had the ability to think of someone when I think of love or have these feelings because obviously it's the thing we all want the most. So I don't have anyone to place that like my thought into except for like some celebrities or whatever. So it's been a bit recurring, but I remember this kind of thing I was like thinking all the time because it's like when you go from the thing that was great to terrible, all I could think about was the time spent. So that was an interesting one. And you know what? This video is long as hell. People are only gonna watch like a minute, but I'm gonna do a third one because we got 2,080 days. So I'm gonna go back. So these are probably gonna be dark. Okay, ready? I'm gonna do a May 15th. No, May 25th, 2022. I'm gonna say just a warning here might be some rough language. I'll just say. I don't know if there is, but I'm just being honest. I can't believe I'm reading these, but whatever. Okay, I didn't have a title or anything. May 25th, 2022 at 7:38 p.m. There's something about being at home, in quotes, strong in quotes, and going around the same places over and over again that is driving me crazy. Where I'm at right now and the area around it, that's what I'm talking about. I feel like the fact that I'm spending time at the same place as before is making it tough to move on. True. That's one of the main reasons why my desire to go to California grew so much is because I kept like I felt like I was constantly reminded of the fact of my dad dying and all this stuff. And this is a few months before the love thing. So there wasn't even anyone to connect it to that wasn't that. So I was very much in this headspace of like, oh, I really do not want to, I don't want to like I don't know. I don't want to live in the past kind of thing. That's kind of the whole idea. My hair's going crazy. I don't want to like ignore my family, but I don't know if I could start a new life and feel good if I'm stuck in this feeling. Still kind of thinking about that. Honestly, I want to get to the point where I only see my immediate family for like birthdays, holidays, because I really don't like being constantly stuck in the same stuff I used to. I'm in a very similar spot right now, and it's not like a thing of where I'm like, oh, I don't like it. It's one of those things I think everyone has where you like just want to live your own life, stuff like that. And I was doing it, and I've been doing it at points and stuff like that. But when I was out in California, it just was so tough. It was like a level of like it felt like yuck in the way I felt. So that was a reality check. And being back here, I really do not like this feeling, but I'm like I'm kind of in a space where I don't know what to do because it's like I feel like I tried the thing and then it failed and I tried it again and it failed again. But maybe I set myself up for failure. But it makes me really evaluate because I'm thinking of getting my own place out here, like getting an apartment or whatever, and how that would change the way I feel and if it would change the way I feel or how much it would change. Obviously, it would change aspects of it being by yourself. And like I was staying by myself a decent bit of the time that last year at the apartment I hated. And even then, I was still liking being there than here. Like, apartment I hated, the apartment I was talking like that about. So I know I would feel better, but I'm almost in this camp of like, I don't want like to feel eh. I'd rather feel like the best I can. And I'm not scared to take risks if that involves trying to do something like going to a place I actually like trying new stuff or doing the new places or being with new people. That kind of stuff is what what's kind of going through my mind. My heart is not here. It's true. It just isn't, and I feel like I've had to pretend that I want to live the rest of my life here. I'm just kind of talking Scott, like Arizona, Phoenix, Scottsdale. I kind of my thoughts on this have changed a bit in terms of like after experiencing how it was being alone, being in a different spot. Battery saver. Oh, you might have to move our spots, but yeah, it was it's kind of maintained a little bit. Oh, let's see if I can still get this lighting good. But yeah, oh yeah, this lighting is much worse. But yeah, it's one of those deals where like after experiencing what it was like in Cali and all this stuff, I'm realizing that it's not as bad as I thought it was. It's more so the thing that's quote unquote bad. Oh, there we go. Quote unquote bad is the fact of being stuck in almost the stuff that was breaking me down and like driving me insane as a kid. Like being stuck in that situation. Like it kind of I don't know how to explain it, but that's kind of how I feel. Uh, I got to be here for my sisters and I got to be here for my sisters and family, but I don't feel like I'm here to feel happy again. Is it possible for me to feel good again if I'm constantly in a place where I feel sad slash guilty slash confused? I'm kind of in a similar boat here where I feel it's just like you just when you know when your feeling doesn't feel right. That's kind of how I felt just in this area, not even just like the place, but this general area, like it just feels wrong. And it just, there's a part of me that's like, oh, if I get like if I get some like job that I don't hate and I get a place by myself, like, would that solve anything, or would that just put me in a spot where I'm just thinking about other stuff and still feeling a similar way? So I don't know. I probably think too much about this stuff, but is it possible if you? Yeah, I mean, I'm the most comfortable at the nighttime. That's true. It's still true to say because it's almost like I'm somewhere else. That's my biggest reason. Like when I'm here, or when I would be at the apartment that I hated, or even the place when I was by myself, I kind of would seclude myself in certain areas to almost pretend like they're trying to escape. And that's been a recurring thing in every place that I've not liked. The places that I do liked, like that I do slash did like, are the places that I have been most like fluid, or like where I'm not like in one spot for the entire time. Like when I was at my dad's house, sure I was in my room a decent bit, but I was also in like the living room, or like there was kind of like two ish living rooms. Like they were kind of in the same like ish. They were kind of like just pretty much the same room. But like I'd hang out there, or hang out in like this little dining area, or maybe I'd hang out in the backyard or all stuff. Like when I'm here, and for the as long as I can remember this house. It's a nice house and all stuff, but I spend almost exclusively every single second that I can in whatever my room is there, and I still don't enjoy it, but I just do it because I'm like I'm trying to get through it because I just absolutely despise the feeling of being in this place. If that's TLDR, sorry. Uh, hanging out in my apartment by myself made me understand that if I'm by my that if I found a girl, a good job, and a good place, then I think I could live somewhere new. Yeah, that's the thing. I did the live somewhere new thing without the gal, or without the girl, or the good job. It may not be tempy, but at the very least, the whole being on my own thing feels right. It was right to go out and do that, but being on your own, like solo, for like 9 months, like barely knowing anyone, barely hanging out with people, not having a job to where that would take up a ton of time. Like it was taking up time, but I was also in the apartment like the entire time, and I wasn't like, even when I signed up for stuff, I couldn't find connections or meet people or do stuff in a way that resonated. So it's kind of like a rough cycle. It was not what I anticipated, even in my worst case scenario there. The big jump will be when I take my recording setup in the next place I go, because that's the reason why I come back as much as I do. Yeah, I used to, in the old room I had here, I had a recording setup or whatever. It was kind of just a desk and like this arm mic that, because at this point I was really only making the like football commentary videos or whatever without a face camera or anything. So I just record nonstop and edit these videos all the time. And that would make sense, because it's like, okay, if I take my recording separate, move that stuff, then it means I don't have any. I'm not tied to be at the spot. It's kind of what I was getting at. Recording at the apartment is like talking at a concert, and so it seems bound to my houses for as long as I'm at college. What I'm saying is there's always like people around or stuff like that. Like I'd record videos like on my phone, or with some like really trashy mic in like the closet in my room. Like I'd like literally sit in like something like this in the dark or whatever and record. Like look at the thing, like have the little thing, kind of like huddle over with like a blanket on my head or something like that. Like it's tough because you live with three other people, and then you have friends that come over, stuff like that. So I did that quite a bit. So I'd come home and record and do stuff on like the weekends. Seems like this next year is going to be me bouncing back and forth while worrying about getting a job and trying to pass. That actually was very true. Yep, it was. Well, I didn't factor in the girl thing, or whatever that would happen. This is a long one, by the way. I didn't factor in the girl thing, but yeah, I was very much worried about the job thing, and I eventually did get one, a full time one. Didn't last long, but I did that, and uh, I did move to to like Orange County, and all the while I act like I don't want to kill myself. There was a point in time where it was quite the opposite. I was loving it, but then the second the love thing stopped, and I was faced with just all this stuff, it was really tough, and it only got tougher when I was out in California. So, but it was good. It's one of those deals, like, when you have in life where you know you got to do something tough, even though you don't want to. You just know it's like something you got to do. That's what time California, or a lot of college was, if we're being honest here. That's kind of how I felt. Doing all these mental games 24/7, like kind of pretending stuff, makes me feel like I'm going in slow motion all the worst ways, and I have zero control. For better or for worse, this is a test drive. This is a test drive for my life, and God's putting me through all these trials to force me to trust Him more so than ever before. It's been a similar thing last 2.5 years. It's kind of only ramped up over time, which I didn't really anticipate. I thought the college thing was gonna be really tough, and I thought it was gonna be tough after, but I wasn't expecting what was happening. The next year is just gonna be tough. Well, I guess I'm wrong, but no ifs, ands, or whatever the f's about it. But I feel like I've been prepared for it ever since my dad died. True, yeah. Maybe I just do the same sh whatever, and stay in the same area and do the same BS I'm doing right now. But maybe just maybe I'm gonna start a new life elsewhere and with someone else. So the elsewhere thing did try, not with someone else. I will say, and it didn't go even remotely close to what I was thinking when I was writing this. Since I was young, I felt out of place everywhere, but when I was with my dad, still true to this day, except for the experience with love. So maybe it was a sign that once he died, that I would have to find a new home. Still trying to find it. And it would take a lot of time. It would take a lot out of me, but it will be worth it in the end. That's kind of one of those things I'm still living out actively, so I don't quite know. Maybe I'm just a hopeless dreamer, but my heart is not here. That's one of those things like all the stuff I want to do in life, all the stuff I'm aspiring towards, it all is kind of rooted in the fact of not having a home is why it's so like strong. Because if I had a home, I felt comfortable, all this stuff. Why would I be dreaming or aspiring and to do all this stuff if I felt good enough to get by with what I was doing? It's the fact that I don't feel good enough, even close to good enough to get by. It's forcing me to do all this stuff. And what I'm learning over time is, oh, should I actually like doing this and that to the point where like when I actually eventually you gotta think sometime feel good enough to like be happy and all that stuff, that I'll still be doing this stuff, but that it will just further ignite the fire, whatever I'm doing, and or maybe cause me to change this, that, and third about what I'm doing. I don't know if that makes any sense. No blues clues needed because this S word is searching for my new spot. Yeah, that's kind of what it is. It's kind of searching for home. It could take a bit after college. Definitely. But at the end of the day, all things considered, I'm kind of just along for the ride. True. I can pretend like I have any hand in what's coming next, but I'm honestly just trying to do my best to not kill myself at this point. And outside that, I have no idea what's going on. Yeah, yeah, I could do that. I've kind of felt better about myself from this point, and like the kill myself thing, it's still kind of one of those things. Like I think anyone out there who's going through depression and this all stuff can echo the sentiment that it really doesn't matter what you're doing or thinking. Like it will, things just pop up, but feel better and like believing in God and believing all that stuff to where like like sure it pops up, but I'm like, I'm not. This is not like a thing that I could do. So it's just a thing. It's just a thought. I feel like I'm watching a movie and it's like the toughest part, but it's been on for like 4.5 years. But it's been on for like 3.5, 4 years. Yeah, I was underestimating the next few years. It doesn't even seem like I'm living the same life. Yeah, true. Like, less and less over time. Like honestly, I feel like I'm watching someone else's life. Yep. But then when I get back to reality, I feel effing awful. Like whenever I watch movies, listen to music, and all that stuff, it kind of feels like I escape and come back. Kind of similar to what I was talking about earlier with the thing of like when I was in love and go back to the apartment. I have that a lot of times where I try to like even be in this room or doing like I despise being in this room, but like when I'd be at my parents' house or whatever, and like I'd have my own little room, and then I would like have to leave and do this or that. Like it was even that was a drastic shift, or like when I go from the apartment back to my parents' home or stuff like that. It's just drastic changes, and it just makes me feel like just garbage. I can't lie, but yeah. And then I wake up and do it all over again. Yeah, it kind of feels like it, unless felt like an endless cycle for a lot of it. Am I insane for wanting to leave this like Groundhog Day of wanting to kill myself, or is this just my life? I don't even really know at this point, but I trust there's a purpose to it all. That's why I'm still alive. And it's just taking a bit for that purpose to include non-depression, sh, whatever. Eventually fell in love and all that stuff, so there was an exception. Beggars can't be choosers, so I'm here, but I'm not going to pretend like it's anything close to easy. Easy was getting bullied every day without having any friends. Easy was sitting alone at lunch. Easy was being a social outcast. This S word is hard as F word. Yeah. Without God, I would be screwed. Yeah, true. I literally have no idea how I'd be alive. So I'm glad he's on my side. But even then, it's not as a fun. It's not. But even then, this is not a fun time by any means. I wonder if this is how the rest of my rest of college is going to go. Not quite because of the love thing, but there's definitely a lot of this for that. But let's be real here. It's like a 99.99% chance. I said change, but chance. So I was wrong there. But I'll probably have PTSD when I see ASU college I went to. S word when I'm older because this time is not it. And what's funny, thinking back now, I actually look at it with rose-colored glasses. But the rose-colored glasses are almost specific to the time, like where I was in love, or certain little parts like before my dad died and whatever, like little sections, but a large majority of it, I just completely my brain just disconnected because of the way I was feeling. It's not AZ's fault because I really dislike the spirit of my life. Yeah, It seems like it was always meant to be really effing tough. It still continues to feel like that. People say best 4 years, but the first one my dad died from my eyes. Another two have been me trying to not kill myself. So it's not even the top 18. True, until the whole love experience. It's crazy how much that made me shift my thinking about college. Like it polar opposite within months. In terms of how important they are, then yeah, they're definitely like one of the most important for time of my life, if not the most important. But in terms of best, I don't think they're in the same galaxy. Trips slash movies, whatever, all lost their joy to me, and I feel just really awful no matter what I do. So it is definitely an interesting time in my life. Still kind of in a similar boat, trying to get the pieces back to feeling emotions again. Uh, it's one of those times that you need to go through, but it isn't all that great when you're in it. Yeah, it's kind of like I use the same example of like eating broccoli or like something where you're like where you have that with like a steak or chicken or what like a potato or something like that, whatever. Where it's like you don't really want to eat the broccoli unless it's really good. But let's say this in this case like broccoli is like just raw, it's just unseasoned and stuff. Like you know it's good for you and it's healthy and it helps you, but you're like you really don't want to eat it. That's kind of how I felt with this the last like 5 6 years of my life. I've kind of felt like it's been like the broccoli part. It's one of those. There are a bunch of factors that make this time go from awful to effing awful. Not enough money to support myself. Still kind of similar boat there. No girlfriend. Still in the same boat. Second home. Still in the same boat. Really not a fan of my major. Same boat. Etc. Unlike other S word, there's no one's fault but myself, and it makes all this that much more interesting. And I say fault, like truthfully, it's one of those deals where I can't go back and I don't have any regrets. There's no things I'm like, oh, I should have done this, should have done that. So it's not that I regret anything. It's just that I can kind of see from the outside looking in that like, oh, why didn't you do this or why didn't you change your major fast? Why didn't you do this and that? And obviously, it's easy to say like when you're talking about someone else's thing. Like, okay, let's take the major for example. If I didn't pick a certain major in business, I never would have met the roommates I have, and I'm still in a friend group now. That never would have happened, which would have been huge. I never would have eventually met the girl, fell in love in the first place, so that's huge. So literally, the two of the biggest things, a non-dad dying thing that happened in college, are because of the fact that I chose the major that I did, and it wouldn't have happened if I didn't. So I'm like, it's really tough to think of that as a regret, and that would be like the closest one I could think of. So yeah, constant mental games to prevent myself from suicide. Makes sense. Constant mental games to prevent myself from suicide, and it's become normal because of it. Yep. It's one of those deals where like when you feel a certain way for a long time, it's really tough to like whatever those thoughts and throughout last few years, whatever believing in God, all that stuff, and like seeing signs and really seeing purpose, seeing why stuff is happening in action, has helped me kind of get like reinforce the beliefs and stuff like that. But it's definitely not easy. Suicide is like the news, always on, yep, and and unavoidable. You can learn to ignore most of the sh whatever the word. Yeah, it's one of those deals where before I fell in love and had that even that taste, it was very easy for my mind to slip into thinking bad thoughts and all that stuff. So yeah, it was like pretty constant. It was like it's like yeah, like my parents always had the news on, so it was like that in my brain or whatever. It's just always on, no matter what I did. All I can say is that this is a time for learning, not having a great time. There was aspects of it where I've had a great time, but yeah, mostly I agree. And a big test of trust. I like anything before and likely after. After is wrong, but before is right. I guess we'll see where I end up after all this stuff. I'm still in that boat. Well, so we did three of these. It's extremely personal, probably insanely personal, I guess, for making these videos. So I'll see if I do any more of this. But I just wanted to do it. I honestly felt really good talking about this. I really like that. It felt like a better version of what I was already doing. But yeah, let me know. I don't think anyone's gonna be here. Like, let's be honest here. If you're still here, comment down below journal. Just comment down below the word journal. And yeah. But love y'all, whoever's here. And see you next time. Peace out. Oh shoot.